They say freedom is a river. But most people forget that rivers cut through rock. They don't wait for permission. They don't ask for forgiveness. They carve, slow, relentless, until the path is open. When that path closes behind them, some turn back. Some carve it again. Harder, smarter, louder. That's what Harriet Tubman did. Not once. Not for herself. But 19 times. For 70 others. Each time knowing she might not come back. Each time doing it anyway. Call me Gage. Cole Braddock. If you're decoding archive transmissions, this is WGAI 13. The rogue signal for the unsung. The Stoic. The forged in fire. The ones who held the line. Before anyone else admitted there was a line. Tonight, we track the file of a woman history tried to shrink. They called her a nurse, a helper, a whisper. But what she was a tactician, a raid leader, a code breaker, a ghost that moved in the dark and dragged justice behind her. Harriet Tubman, spy, soldier, saint, stoic. If you're listening, not just hearing, but really listening, then someone out there needs this. Send it to them. Share the signal. Drop a name in the comments. Someone who carries the weight without the credit. These aren't just stories. They're reminders. Harriet Tubman was born Araminta Ross, sometime around 1822. No birth certificate, just ledger entries, auction prices. A child, listed as property. Before she learned to read, she learned what pain cost. Beaten at 5, forced to care for white children, while still one herself. At 13, nearly killed. A 2-pound weight thrown by an overseer at a fleeing slave struck her skull instead. She lived. But the damage stayed. Visions, seizures, lifelong headaches that would drop her without warning. They tried to break her. They made a weapon. In 1849, she ran, on foot, alone, north to Pennsylvania, into a freedom that wasn't quite free, not when others were still in chains. So she turned around and went back. 19 times. They called her Moses. The people she led whispered it first. Then her enemies learned to fear it. Because Moses didn't just guide people out of bondage. Moses came back, again and again. Until the job was done, guided by stars. Navigated by moss, memory, and something deeper than courage. She carried a small pistol, not for killing, but for commitment. Sometimes laudanum to quiet crying babies. Always forged papers. Always a plan. She was more than brave. She was methodical. Every route memorized. Every mission time to the winter months when nights were longer and patrols were thinner. She'd pray with one breath and scan for bloodhounds with the next. Her rule was absolute. We move together or we don't move at all. And when someone faltered, when fear crept in and begged them to turn around, she reminded them of the stakes. Not in anger, in strategy. Because one crack in the line meant the whole network could fall. Meant everyone who came before dies. Meant everyone who comes after never gets the chance. She gave them clarity. The only way out is through. That's not cruelty. That's command. That's stoicism. Sharpened to save lives. And here's the thing they don't teach you in school. She never lost a single person. Not one. 19 missions. 70 souls. Perfect record. It's not luck. That's discipline. Then came the war. And Harriet didn't wait for an invitation. She didn't ask for orders. She wrote them. She went south. Not as a fugitive. As a fighter. Union brass didn't trust her. A black woman, in military intelligence, they gave her scraps. Nurse duty, domestic roles. She took them. And while her hands dressed wounds, her mind mapped the battlefield. She gathered intelligence. Tracked Confederate troop movements. Built spy networks throughout South Carolina. Interpreted coded hymns. Spirituals that carried battlefield intelligence better than any telegraph. Knowledge outclassed every officer in the room. And they knew it. That's when they gave her the mission nobody else could handle. The Combahee River. June 2nd, 1863. 3 gunboats. 300 Union soldiers. One objective. Strike deep into Confederate territory. Cripple their supply lines. Free the enslaved on the rice plantations. The waters were mined. The shores, booby-trapped. Confederate forces held every advantage. No one had a plan that would work, but Harriet did. She'd spent months building the intelligence network, recruiting local slaves as informants, mapping every plantation, every creek, every hidden path. She knew where the mines were placed. She knew the patrol schedules. She knew which overseers could be bribed and which ones would fight. She ran the reconnaissance herself, briefed the officers on enemy positions, rode the gunboat John Adams as they moved upriver. And when the moment came, she didn't just give the order to launch. She led from the front. In one night, 750 people stepped into freedom. Plantations burned. Supply depots destroyed. Confederate operations crippled for months. 0 Union casualties. Perfect execution. Tubman wasn't background support. She was the commanding officer in everything but title. And the newspapers? They called it Colonel Montgomery's raid. But the people who were there knew the truth. The soldiers knew. The newly freed knew. This was Moses' war. After the conflict ended, she didn't stop. She settled in Auburn, New York, turned her home into a station for anyone who needed shelter, built homes for elderly former slaves who had nowhere else to go, fought for women's suffrage alongside Susan B. Anthony, gave speeches, raised funds, never stopped moving. The government owed her years of back pay for her military service. She petitioned. They delayed, made excuses, lost paperwork. When they finally gave her a pension, it wasn't for her raids, not her intelligence work, not the lives she saved or the battles she won. Gave it to her for being a nurse. $20 a month. For a woman who'd outmaneuvered Confederate generals and saved more lives than most colonels. But we know better. She wasn't a footnote. She was the damn headline. Here's what they don't teach you about strength. It's not about never falling. It's about getting up every time, with purpose. The Stoics I study, they understood that pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. Tubman didn't walk untouched. She walked unbroken. She wasn't fearless. She was faithful to the people behind her, to the cause in front of her, to the vision that kept her moving when everything else said stop. She didn't quote Marcus Aurelius. She lived him. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That's not theory. That's Tubman. In the swamps, on the rivers, in the dark places where freedom gets forged. She understood the first pillar of Stoicism. Control what you can. She couldn't control slavery's existence, couldn't control the war's timing, couldn't control other people's hatred, but she could control her response, her preparation, her commitment to the mission. Second pillar, live with virtue. Not because it's rewarded, because it's right. She could have stayed free in Pennsylvania, could have lived quietly, safely. No one would have blamed her. Instead, she chose the harder path, because virtue demands action, not comfort. Third pillar, prepare for the worst. Every mission planned for failure. Every route had backups. Every contingency mapped. She didn't hope for the best. She prepared for the worst and executed with precision. Fourth pillar, remember death. She knew every mission could be her last. Every person she led might not make it. That knowledge didn't paralyze her. It focused her, made every choice matter, every moment count. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good person should be. Be one." Harriet Tubman never read those words, but she lived them. When the world said black lives didn't matter, she made them matter. When the military said women couldn't lead, she led anyway. When society said stay in your place, she redefined what place meant. That's Stoicism in action. Philosophy proven in the field. If you're walking alone tonight, if you're carrying a weight the world refuses to see, if you're waiting for permission to do what you know is right, don't wait. Move. Start where you are. Use what you have. Do what you can. Because freedom doesn't come with fanfare. It doesn't march in parades. It moves. Quiet. Relentless. Carried by people who understand that the mission matters more than the recognition. If this steadied your aim, if it reminded you that leadership doesn't need a title and courage doesn't need applause, then act. Subscribe to this channel. We're building an archive of warriors who changed the world without waiting for permission. Comment who we should profile next. Share this with someone who forgot how powerful quiet courage can be. Tell me, Who's your Moses? Who's the person in your life who keeps coming back for others? Who deserves their story told? Because history is full of people like Harriet Tubman. People who saw what needed doing and did it. People who understood that true strength isn't about overpowering others. It's about empowering them. This was File 10. The Conductor's Code. Harriet Tubman. Moses. General. Stoic. Hold your line. Carry the weight. And remember, freedom doesn't come with fanfare. It doesn't march. It moves. Quiet. Relentless. Just like the ones who make it real. This is Gage. Cole Braddock. WGAI 13. Signing off from the archives. Stay strong. Stay honest. And never stop moving toward what's right. Always remember,